Hey, today we have got a great guest. We got Chris Voss, who used to be an FBI hostage negotiator, used to be a cop, a SWAT guy, and he got into hostage negotiations. And my history with Chris, I listened to his book on Audible, and I liked it, but it didn't really apply that much to my business. But I started picking it up again, and the more I listen to it, the more I like it. And then we met up in Boston at the Zoom Info conference, and I listened to his presentation there, and it started to really resonate with me. And he also is one of the best deframers I've ever met. Deframing is the ability to crack someone's perception of the world and get you to look at it differently. And that's what we do in sales. Because too often we run into people who have a set mindset about what we do, if they need it, if they want it, if it's important, how much it's worth. We're going to get into all of that today. This is one of the episodes that I should charge you for this one, but it's that good. We really have a great conversation. And I used one of his techniques, which is the best breakup email I've ever heard. I used it literally last night. And I'm telling you, no less than 10 minutes later, I get a response. Now, this is a little before 5 on a Friday where I didn't even know if the person would read the email, never mind respond. It was that effective. And we're going to get into that today. I'm going to tease you until the end, and he's going to share it. And then I'm going to share at the end the story I used, or exactly how it worked, and the result that I got. But before we get into it, make sure you're checking out Prezi.com/brutaltruth. I've been using Prezi for my course. I'm building this course called Get the Meeting. And Get the Meeting is going to show you how I get great meetings with pretty much anybody, any company I want. And it's no trickery, no schemes, no gimmicks. It's a natural, humanistic way with almost zero rejection. It's going to be coming out at the end of December as my little Christmas present to all of you. And I really appreciate everybody who's listening to the podcast and who's sharing it. Also, make sure you're checking out nudge.ai as a way of monitoring your total addressable space. This is the way to get ideas, icebreakers, to get into your accounts. Let them do all the work for you, and it's free. So let's get into the interview with Chris and wait to the end where I sum it up and some of the ideas and how you can apply them to really just crush your number, because this is the stage of the quarter where we're all negotiating. We're all trying to get the deals done. And we also negotiate our comp plans, our territories. And when you really think about it, every conversation is a negotiation. We're trying to either educate or be educated, share information, bond, build relationships, build rapport, build trust. It's all about negotiations. And I think maybe we shouldn't use that word, because all we think of at negotiations is signing a contract. But there's so much more to it. There's this whole process that people go through. And we're really going to get into it. So here we go with Chris. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Brian, pleasure to be on. I've got your standard background, FBI hostage negotiator, stuff like that. Grew up in Iowa. Small town Iowa boy, FBI hostage negotiator. It's a cliche.
Yeah. Now, you were a police officer before you went in the FBI, weren't you?
KCMO, Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. Yes, I was.
Yeah. Now, how do you get interested in negotiations after doing that? It sounds like you were on the SWAT team too, weren't you?
I was, yeah. A lot of this it's communication related. It seems a little bit overly obvious there, but, I remember when I was a police officer, there was some detectives some guys that got rotated out of the detective bureau with the police department just because of some administrative nonsense. And man, those guys could talk to people. And they would get people to cooperate, without having to yell at anybody really effective, smart stuff. And I remember being blown away by that. So, I ended up in the FBI a couple of years later and then was really blown away by the agents that were making cases, not because they got a hammer on somebody, because they were under arrest and they wanted to try to work their way out of it, but agents that got people to cooperate with them just on establishing a relationship with them. People want to do the right thing or felt attached to the agent in some way. So, communicating with great results just kind of blew me away whenever I got a chance to see it. So ended up being, when I left my SWAT days behind, ended up just being something I was really into and really enjoyed.
Yeah. And now that you're totally focused on business today, aren't you?
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, the stuff that we're doing is just advancing people's businesses and their professional lives, and even solving problems that people took for granted just by nature of what they're dealing with. I give you an example. I was on the phone with a CEO the other day, and we've got this great technique that gets an immediate response for somebody who's no longer returning your phone calls or your emails, and just they've gone dead silent on you. And this guy says, I'm blown away by what you taught me, because I'm 11 for 11 on somebody that is not responding. And not only that, see, this particular technique, he says, I can hold my breath when I press the send button on the email, and I'll get a response before I pass out.
Well,
And I'm
hopefully
like, yeah.
it's not the breakup email, is it? You've been eaten by an alligator or something? Or?
No, it's a re-engagement. It's let's get this back underway sort of email. And but then I was thinking about it after the fact. Like, he said he's 11 for 11 on people that have gone dead silent on him, non-responders. And I'm thinking, this guy's a good communicator. He's got 11 people in his world that are not getting back to him, that he can't get an answer out of. I don't have any. Nobody in my company, I mean, nobody's going silent on us at all. And this guy, I think everybody assumes that there are going to be some people that you're doing business with that go silent on you. And that's just part of doing business. And it is not. I mean, those are deals that you should be making. Those aren't even deals that you should be doing a better job on. With most of them, you can. But I mean, 11, he had 11, I got 0. So I think we're really helping people communicate better, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Because it is more, not just more, but it just, when you use the word negotiations, what everyone thinks of is that final stage in a deal. But it's a lot more than that. Isn't like all communications kind of a negotiation?
Hey, the most dangerous negotiation is the one you don't know you're in. Yeah, man. If the word yes is in the air, you're in a negotiation. If you have in your brain, if the words I want are in your brain, then it's a negotiation. Yeah.
And that's it. And I think we make the mistake of not really thinking that there is, not just a science to it, but an art to it.
But the more we learn about brain science, neuroscience, I mean, there's even more science than a lot of people realize. I mean, I think that's a new era that we're going into.
Now, did you study neurolinguistics programming at all?
No, man, are you kidding me? On my accent, it should be clear that I didn't study linguistics.
Well, I got to tell you, because I heard you up in Boston, and we met for just a minute there. And I go, this guy knows how to deframe people better than anybody I've ever seen. Now, the deframe in the neurolinguistics programming is you take your competition and you tell exactly why they're 100% wrong. And you are fantastic at that.
Well, I mean, I think I'm a nice guy. I don't know. I think people are 100% wrong.
Well, no. Well, like how you tore apart the yes momentum in your talk.
Oh God, the yes momentum. I think that's why. Actually, I think that's a real reason why people go dead silent on us. They're scared. They're just sick of being trapped with yes.
And I think that's part of the art, in that the science kind of changes as society changes, right? I mean, that probably worked in the 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And yeah, it may be that in a dynamic environment, people are just so sick of being trapped by yes that at one point in time it did work. It just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, and the no frame, or using a question to get a no that really means yes, which means agreement.
Well, it's interesting. It's often tantamount to agreement, and it ends up being agreement, but actually in a much faster and more effective way than getting people to say yes also. I mean, The only time I actually, offer someone the opportunity to say yes to something, and the most effective thing is stuff that they're never going to say yes to, but you're actually just trying to force them to make a decision on a given issue.
Now let's take a typical sales call. Now, a good salesperson, experienced salesperson would have that what you call a cold read, about the ability to go in and get a sense of where to start. How about if you're brand new to sales? How do you get that initial read?
Well, it's a great question because how do you buy time in a conversation to give yourself a chance to think, to assess, and not put the other side off? And you're going to get a read right away. Hostage negotiators think of the first three things they're going to say and then no more. That's it. And, what's a hostage negotiator? What am I doing as a hostage negotiator when I'm calling into a bank to talk to a bank robber? That's the ultimate cold call, is it not?
It's pretty cold. Yeah, it's definitely cold.
Yeah, man. It's a cold call. So, well, go ahead. What were you going to ask?
But they're going to want to talk to you for a reason, right? So they want something. You want something. You want the person out safe and alive.
Right. Right.
No one hurt, and they want to somehow get away, at minimum.
Right. Yeah.
So at least they want to talk to you.
So as a cold caller, unless you're closing your eyes and picking names out of a phone book as a result, and I don't know anybody's doing that. Every cold caller's got some reason to be engaging the other side.
Yeah.
You got some data from someplace that they actually, the person you're calling actually took an action to provide you with data to indicate an interest. So it's not like the other side doesn't want anything that you've got access to. 1,000%. I mean, maybe they went on your website and made an inquiry, but you've got a reason on a cold call, unless you're picking names out of a phone book. Again, I don't think anybody's doing that. So it's no different than a bank. You're saying, like, you think a bank robber, sorry about that. You think a bank robber wants to talk to me? No, he doesn't. He wants the heck out. Somebody from law enforcement is the last person he wants on the phone, unless I'm going to give him what he wants, and he doesn't expect that. He'd rather talk to the bank president or somebody that could give him a legal pass. But if you're a cold caller, you got a reason to call.
Yeah. Then how do you build rapport? I mean, what's the easiest way that you sense or have experience in building rapport, either in a cold situation or an adversarial situation, or even in a friendly situation?
Okay. Great question. First of all, the last thing, like most cold caller calls me on the phone and says, "Hey, can I speak to Chris Voss, please? May I please speak to Chris Voss?" Very well-intentioned, horrible start. You haven't finished your sentence, and I know this is a sales call.
Yeah.
Because none of my friends say, "Hey, can I call and speak to Chris Voss?" So I know it's a sales call to start with. And on top of that, now, I have no idea who you are. Like, that's the first thing going through my mind. Like, I don't even know, this guy's trying to sell me. I don't even know who this guy is. I don't know who he is or where he's from. The best salespeople I've run across always start out with, if I'm the salesperson, I say, "Hi, I'm Chris." Your first name should be the second words out of your mouth. Or that's the third word. "Hi, I'm Chris." Because if I still don't know what this is about, at least I know the name of the other person on the line. That's already taken away some of my anxiety. A hostage negotiator is going to call in a bank, and I'm going to say, "Hi, I'm Chris." It should be the exact same opening. So now, while I've got some anxiety over I don't know what this is about yet, at least I know the person on the other end of the line. I know him by his first name. That's all we want. FBI hostage negotiator, I could call and say, "Hi, I'm Chris from the FBI. I'm a hostage negotiator. I'm going to talk to you." That'd be horrible because it squashes all over Chris.
How you doing today?
Yeah. Well, and actually, the very next stupid thing, as a hostage negotiator, I call it into a bank say, "How are you today?" That's really dumb. But
Yeah.
salespeople say the same thing. How are you today? No, my friends don't call me and say, "Hi, can I speak to Chris Voss? How are you today?" Again, I know that all this well-intentioned stuff is getting people off to the wrong foot. Hi, I'm Chris. If I'm a sales cold call person, next follow up with a no-oriented question. Have I caught you in the middle of something?
Oh,
Because that gives you control back immediately. You by asking that question, not by trying to get you to say yes, which is as soon as I start trying to get you to say yes, which is this yes mode, yes nonsense, I'm trying to take away your ability to say no. I'm trying to take away your control. Another bad move. That's why the yes mode, yes momentum is so destroying of relationships. I mean, the yes mode damages rapport the minute you start it. And you just asked me, how do I build rapport? By taking away my freedom? So a lot of it is just stop doing the bad stuff that you're doing. And the person on the other end of the line, as soon as they're allowed to give you some latitude, they will.
yeah. I mean, certainly, is this a good time to speak or something like that? Is the kind of the worst thing. You're giving them an out, and you're wasting time, and they picked up the phone already, so they're speaking. So
Well, you just don't go for yes right off the bat.
yeah,
Because you say, is this a good time to speak? You're hoping they say yes, right?
obviously, yeah,
So that's bad because it's a yes trap. And yes is taking away people's autonomy. I mean, even if you don't see, that's the thing I think people have the most trouble over, because that's meant to be respectful. That's meant to be respectful and polite. Your intentions are good. Now, for an effective communication approach, your intentions have to be good, of course. But engaging in a bad strategy, good intentions do not overcome a bad strategy.
right. And how long do you typically spend trying to establish rapport before you move on?
We never move on from establishing rapport. That's the other reason why this is a great time saver. Every one of our negotiation techniques is designed to simultaneously build rapport. So we don't look at it as an either or process. We look at it as a simultaneous process, and that's why we save so much time.
Okay. But then the next stage would be what? Trust or?
Well, you're going for trust, but what you're really going for is substitute the word predictability in for trust,
Okay.
which again is why so many sales techniques are bad. Like I'm seeing on LinkedIn the other day, a salesperson said, call and ask somebody for help. They'll stay on the phone longer with you because people want to help. Yeah, but you just betrayed them because you don't want help. You want to sell them.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you ask for help? You make yourself, the predictability is that you're a bait and switch guy. The predictability is that I can't trust what you say, that you actually always have a hidden agenda. So, line up predictability for trust, and then trust falls into place.
Okay. So when you say predictability, you mean what? Ask questions that you know the answer to, or guide them in a direction you know they will go?
Start off with, since you have a reason for calling them, go right back into that reason right away.
Okay.
That now begins to take away the anxiety. What's this about? What it also does too is, if you got a reason for calling somebody, they have a need. You need to get at that need right away and refresh it in their mind, because so many people put stuff in the back of their mind. What happens to be top of mind at the moment is probably where they're going to buy, which is why there's some bad sales techniques, but I understand what they're going for, which say, like, look, if you're going to call people that have been on your website, you need to call them, within 20 minutes to a half an hour after they've been on the site, because, their need is still top of mind.
Yeah.
Well, you just engage in a communication technique that puts the need back in top of mind, but doesn't make them feel trapped, which is, the reason I'm calling today is because you were on our site, you made an inquiry, And, this might not be for you. I just want to make sure that, that we're qualified for each other. Now what you've just done by doing that is, instead of trying to trap them or close them, now you're giving them the opportunity to qualify, and everybody wants to qualify.
Yeah. Now that correction, that's I've always found that to be insanely powerful. Having them correct you, like what you just did, was say this may not be right for you.
That's a really good point, and that's powerful because actually you're starting to hit a couple of really solid emotional intelligence buttons with that. And of course, this may not be for you triggers the potential for losing out on an opportunity, and losing out is such a driver in human nature that there's a phrase for it now. I mean, everybody's heard of FOMO, fear of missing out, right?
Yeah.
That's not a new concept. That's just an identification of a concept that's been with us since the caveman days.
Then what's your next step after that?
Well, and see, this is another counterintuitive thing, because in most companies, sales and marketing are like cats and dogs. They're supposed to be doing the same thing, but they're always blaming each other for lack of revenue. The marketing people say you're not following up properly on the leads, and the salespeople say you're giving us horrible leads to begin with. So the Glengarry Glen Ross scenes. The Jack Lemmon says leads are shit. But actually, at this point in time, what you really want to be doing is circling back with them over the effectiveness of the marketing. What was it about the website that you liked? What intrigued you in the first place? If you go back and really just sort of do a reassessment of what aspects of your marketing were effective, you're not going to pull a lot of data for your marketing people, and you may be marketing and sales all on one person, so you need to get more information on the effectiveness of your marketing and how to tailor it, more demographics on your customer. But also this gets you out of the close mode, because now it becomes a conversation, and it happens to become a conversation on what their need was in the first place. So it gives you an opportunity to take a deep dive into the actual pain that they have. Pain is not about inflicting pain. Pain is about finding out what their legitimate pain is and helping them understand how you might qualify for them on tailoring your offering, so that you really do have a value proposition as opposed to guessing at your value proposition.
And then do you move on to like implication type questions of,
Well, then the crazy thing to do is to simply thank them for their time and get off the phone.
Because you don't want to go too far too fast?
Well, because the last impression is the lasting impression. Now, number one, you don't want to go too far too fast. But number two, what happens when you have just now had a great conversation about what their need is and what their pain is and what their potential losses are, and then you just say, look, you've been very generous with your time, thank you very much, and you hang up. What's the impression the other side is left with? That the last impression is the lasting impression.
That you're helpful and supportive and smart and not pushy.
And that they just missed out.
Okay.
Now, they missed out on an opportunity to address their issues, which now the sustainability of that thought in their brain is really strong. So when you or a colleague calls back in a week, they will remember that the last time they spoke to you, they may have missed out on an opportunity, and their desire to avoid missing out on that opportunity now is much stronger. Now you can get the appointment.
Now, I'm sure you're selling a lot right now, right? I mean, you sell your services, your consulting services, your training. Take us through that journey. Let's say a CEO hears you speak, reads your book, visits your website, hears you on the podcast, and wants you to come in. But then you get into terms like, money, timing, all those things. How do you guide them through that process?
Well, we start talking to them about, again, like, what were you after in the first place? I mean, somebody may say, look, call us on the phone and say, hey, look, what do you guys charge for training? And we'll say, seems like you're up against something here.
Okay.
Because we need to know what's going on with the other side and what we're faced with. I mean, to some degree, it's a little bit like going to a tailor and asking for a suit before you've been measured.
Yeah.
Like, what's this suit going to cost? I don't know. I got to measure it. I got to find out what you want. I got to find out what works for you. You want something off the rack? Go down the street to Sears. They get suits at Sears. But if you want a suit that fits you and that you look great in and it works for you and that you're proud to own and will make you a better businessman, we need to know a little bit more what we're dealing with. Not the least of which on the other side is, what's their culture? Have they got a learning culture? Awesome. Because what difference does that make? How much of our lessons are going to be reinforced after we've done the training, or how much do we have to build reinforcement in after the training because they got no reinforcement? So, any client that calls us on the phone, potential client, I want to figure out what kind of a delivery can we offer you that's actually going to have a massive impact on your bottom line. Because if it doesn't have a massive impact on your bottom line, what you're going to say is, well, we took the Black Swan Group training and it didn't do us any good. I don't need that.
Right.
So if we can't make it really good for you and know that it's going to do you good, then we're wasting everybody's time. I mean, I could come in and train you for a day and take your money. I could convince you to pay me a lot of money to train me for a day. I can get paid, but am I going to impact your bottom line? Are you going to provide me with great referrals? The answer to that is no, because we've done that in the past. We charge a lot of money, and if you're really insistent on making us take your money, we'll do it. But we're not going to expect a referral out of it because you haven't got an environment or an inclination to really make sure your people have an impact on their bottom line. It's like buying a better printer and then not using it.
Now, do you believe everything is negotiable?
Well, that's enough of a blanket statement. I'll give you the negotiator answer. It depends.
Yeah.
We had always had a saying in hostage negotiation that there are some lids that are screwed on so tight nobody can get them off.
Yeah.
So, we never, pretty close to everything is negotiable, but then, can you guarantee success? I could never guarantee anybody success. I can guarantee somebody their best chance of success. So then it becomes, what sort of absolutes are you talking about?
Well, I mean, for salespeople who are listening, clearly negotiating a deal is important, and that's always a negotiation at the high dollar amount. And what salespeople want is basically the customer to do something that costs more than the customer wants to spend, and to do it sooner than the customer wants to do it. Those are kind of the two key things that I always ran up against. We had a time frame, end of quarter, end of year, end of month, whatever. And the customer always wants to buy as little as possible and then scale it as they need or sometime after they need. And the salesperson always wants to do it as much upfront as possible and at the highest price possible.
Yeah, and to me that the real indicator there is, if as a buyer I can never buy anything that works the way the salesman told me it was gonna work, then why wouldn't I want to slash the hell out of the price on you? If it's not going to work the way you said it's going to anyway, if it's not actually tailored for me, if it's not what I'm looking for, why should I pay full price? Buyers are conditioned that salespeople are giving them whatever they got just to make the sale. And if you're going to commoditize yourself, if you're going to be that suit from Sears that you're not going to tailor, then yeah, I'm not paying you anything for that. So, there's a chicken and an egg thing here. And I see it, like if as a salesperson, you're sure of your value proposition before you get the client on the phone, then that means you're not going to listen to anything I say, and I'm entitled to kill you on a price, because there's absolutely no way you could have pre-tailored that for me and have it fit me properly.
And how much of what you teach is like a structured system versus somebody who can really have a sense for it, have an ability for it?
Yeah, you can't have a structured system. It's just not possible. That's like saying, if whatever sport you're in, let's we just finished the World Series is just over. And that's like a pitcher getting on the mound and say, you know what? Then I'm going to throw the next 10 pitches, and here's what they're going to be no matter what happens, no matter what batter's in front of me, no matter how he happens to feel in the moment, no matter how hot that batter is or how cold he is. You know what? I got my next 10 pitches scripted out, and I'm throwing those pitches no matter who they put up. That's just silly.
Yeah.
You have a basic repertoire, and then you've got to be able to adjust in the moment.
But isn't that, I mean, I agree with you, because, but in sales, everybody wants a system. And if you look at, what is the 2 or 3 most successful sales programs in the last 20 years, Spin, maybe Solution and Challenger. It's all silver bullet approaches that that work under certain cases, like a fastball, like in certain cases they do work, but they don't work in every case. But people love that. People want something simple, and it's probably a obstacle that you're facing in people adopting your training, isn't it?
Well, people love something simple principally because they misunderstand the learning curve.
Yeah.
And because the learning curve is really the shape of the bell curve, which means it's steepest and most difficult at the very beginning. And you don't have to go very far and you get over the bell curve hump. Now, as human beings, when we get started on a learning curve, if it's steep at the beginning, we think this is always going to be like this. My God, when is this going to stop? And that's actually one of the main points when we train, that we help people understand that the awkwardness that you feel in a moment, number one, it's not going to last. And number two, it's you're going to build the neural synapses you need to be able to adapt in the moment. And it's going to come to you a lot faster than it feels like it's going to come to you right now. And we can actually define it pretty closely, how long it's going to take.
And how long is that? But before somebody goes from a B player to an A player.
I listened to a Blue Angels pilot talk a couple of months ago, and he said, it takes about 67 repetitions to adopt a habit.
Yeah.
So if you'll suffer through and try this somewhere in the vicinity of about 60 tries, and actually, like the mirror skill, repeating the last 3 words of what somebody's just said, potentially the most awkward feeling skill that we have out there. If you try it 60 times, somewhere between 20 and 60, it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
If you're a slow learner, it's going to take you 63 times. And that's the worst it's going to be. And then as soon as we put a predictable amount of time on it, people go like, oh, okay. All right. As long as it's not going to take 2,063 times. No, you know what? I can suffer through 63 tries. Let me give this a try.
But you don't recommend more than one at a time, or?
It's whatever you want to have fun with.
Yeah.
And there's some people that some of these techniques, like I met a guy at a conference and we ended up calling him Johnny Mirrors because all he did was mirror people. It was driving his wife crazy because at the end of the conference, everybody would walk up to him and they'd go like, you're so much fun to talk to. We like you. And they'd look at his wife and they'd say to his wife, "Your husband is just, what a great guy. We love this guy." And she would glare at him because she knew that the only thing he did the entire conference was mirror people, and they loved him for it.
Yeah. And so I guess if you were to go from, I'm thinking like, okay, there's a lot. Like I listened to your book on Audible, and there's a lot there. And I've watched your YouTube videos, and there's a lot there as well. But it can be overwhelming. And I'm sure you sense that with your clients. What prescription do you give them to go from where they are to where they need to be or want to be? Is it, each person's different, each person's learning style is different, but most of us have a typical sales process with typical questions, typical objections, typical resistance at certain stages that each of these techniques are insanely powerful.
Well, yeah, there's a lot there, but it's like sitting at a great buffet and going like, oh my God, there's just too much here that I want.
Yeah.
All right, so then also, but some of this stuff, what we've found typically is no matter who you are, there's going to be aspects of this you're going to get right away as soon as we show it to you. And you're going to take to it really fast. And that'll help buy you time with the other stuff that takes a little bit longer for you to do. That'll buy you time that you need. Like some people immediately figure out no-oriented questions and they never try to get yes out of anybody ever again. Other people's yes addiction is so bad that breaking your yes addiction is like breaking your addiction to heroin. But it's an addiction to heroin is equally as self-destructive.
Yeah.
Because let's go back to how many people in your life are not returning your phone calls or your emails. That is a direct reflection of your yes addiction. Because they're tired of you trapping them with yes. But that might be a hard habit for you to break.
And you never gave us the reveal on how your client gets the return email. Because, going what I call radio silent in sales, or going dark.
So it's a one-line email. Have you given up on this project? That's it.
That's
no
good.
more. No more. No more words than that. Don't add to it. Don't. No joke. One-line email. Put it in the header. Don't put anything in a body. If you put anything in a body, repeat that word for word in the body. Yeah. You can send it on a text message. Hold your breath. You're going to get an answer before you pass out.
That is good. Now, for the people who are listening, both managers and salespeople, how should they go about learning about you and your work? Is it the book? Is it the website? Whatever works for them, or?
Well, you need the book's digestible. It's an easy read. The best place to buy it is on Amazon. Amazon's got the best prices. They're disrupting everybody's business model. Buy it, but get it there. But if you really want to be good, and you might not want to be good, subscribe to our newsletter. It's complimentary. It's free. It comes out once a week on Tuesdays. Negotiation advice, quick, easy, short, digestible stuff. Plus, it's a gateway to everything we do. We do special training sessions, one-day open enrollment. We just finished one in New York. Other special products that we have, special interviews on podcasts. And the easiest, fastest way to subscribe to this newsletter is called The Edge, is to text all one word, FBI empathy. Don't let your spell check put a space in there. It's got to be all one word. It's not case sensitive. FBI empathy, no space in between. Send a text to 22828, and that's 22828, and you'll get a response back. It'll sign you up for the newsletter, and that is the gateway to everything.
Excellent. I really appreciate your time today, Chris.
Brian, I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
Hey, was one of the best ones yet? Let me tell you the story of how I used that magic. Have you given up on this project yet? a breakup email. A lot of people use the alligator. Oh, did you get eaten by an alligator? The problem is that when it's overused. This one is fresh, and I think it's going to stick for a long time. Well, the day after I interviewed Chris, it was like Friday night, and I've been dealing with my homeowner association because I've got this weird property thing that I own. And what happens is the landscapers keep, ignoring part of the area, and it just keeps overgrowing because they're in a race. They want to get the thing done as soon as possible. I get that, but there's got to be some quality control. And of course, it's not a huge community, so there's no management here. We pay somebody to manage it, and of course, they don't care. All they care about is them getting paid. And let's face it, all they hear is complaints, and their life is terrible. It's a terrible job. But anyways, I said pictures of how poorly the landscaping. I mean, it was just obvious, leaves everywhere. It didn't look like they came. It was like just one swath with the lawnmower. So I take pictures, I send it to them. Hey, could you please take care of this by Friday? I send it on Tuesday. Plenty of time. Get them back here. This happens, every other month. It just drives me crazy. Anyways, they never reply. Or sometimes they'll just send the landscaper out. They never reply no matter what. So no one came. Okay, and on Friday, and I was mad. I was like, come on, because I live at the corner, so I keep hearing landscapers all the time, and you might hear during me doing some interviews, because there is not one day a week where there isn't landscapers near where I live. So anyways, I use the "Have you given up on our community?" I use the community name in there. No less than 10 minutes later, I get a reply. Of course, they lie. They say, oh, no, it went into the junk email. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. We'll get that right on this. We'll have them out by Monday. It was that fast. That's how powerful this is, to really understand psychology and these communication techniques. I'm dropping the word negotiation because because people say like, oh, we don't really negotiate, or it's a short 5-minute call. We give a discount. We can do some kind of consent. That's not what I'm talking about. It's all sales is some negotiation. You're negotiating to get their time. You're negotiating to get their interest. You're negotiating them to take action. Now, what did you learn out of this one? That no frame. Put the yes questions into no questions to move you forward. This is insanely powerful. At first, I thought Chris was just doing it to deframe his the competitive book, which is getting to yes. Now, I think it's just that we're burnt out on it, and we're used to it, and it's like all magic tricks, which everything is that we don't understand is magic. Once everyone figures out the trick, it's no longer a trick. It becomes boring. We have to come up with a smarter way. And in sales, that's what this podcast is about. This is about coming up with a smarter way for you to make money. And guess what? This is the time to make money. We get 2 months left. Make sure you're checking out the other podcasts, the other episodes. The B2B Revenue Leadership podcast this week, I have the founder of Co-Video on, and we're talking about how they're crushing it today with video email, how their customers are crushing it, and being able to connect with people, because we're all using email, and I'm telling you, 99.99999% are terrible. It's all about me, and it's not working. That's kind of why I'm coming up with this course, Get the Meeting, because nothing's working. That's it. Really appreciate you listening. Please share this on whatever way you share it, verbally, through email, through social, or however you do it. Just tell one salesperson this week about the brutal truth and try it. Have you given up on this podcast? Have you given up on writing a review? Huh? It has a different feeling, doesn't it? We all have the new iOS on our iPhones. I hope you get the iPhone 10. I put my order in. I haven't gotten it yet. But basically, you can just swipe up, and it's very easy to write a review or just give me that 5 stars that I know you're begging to help out as a little thank you for Brian's hard work here. Okay, let's get into this. And I got to get into this week. Thanks for listening.
want to know the truth, because deep down in places that you don't talk about are team and management meetings. You want me on that call. You need me on that call. We use words like fleet view, volume control, total cost of ownership. We use these words as a backbone of a life spent negotiating something. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor inclination to explain myself to people who rise and sleep under the very blanket of revenue that I provide and then question the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, may I suggest you pick up a phone and make some sales calls. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to.
Did you expense the lap dances?
I did the job I was hired.
Did you expense the lap dances?
You're goddamn right I did!